How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. And today our special guest is Thomas from Grandmaster LEDs. How are you doing today?
Awesome, man. Happy to be here. It's nice. Definitely feeling the weather on this side of the bridge versus San Francisco.
Totally. Yeah, it warms up. It totally warms up over here. It gets really hot. So where are you from exactly?
I'm based out of Qualicum Beach, Vancouver Island. So we're basically as far west coast and south as you can go in Canada. Pretty much the nicest weather.
Right across from Squim.
Yeah.
So,
I absolutely love it out there. I've been all over the mainland, but about 9 years ago, I had like a really bad home invasion. And I was just like, screw this, man. I'm moving to the island. Like I lived in this area in Chilliwack, British Columbia, where there were just like people for a living were just going around. Just like the home invasions were so bad. And these guys were like pros too, where they come and they drill a tiny hole through your, to figure out where you're at with like little bullet cameras and come back at the right time.
Oh, that's straight Oakland style. That's been happening in Oakland for 20 years. And now it's gone viral and gone all over. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty ruthless too and violent too, but I'm sure that's like that here too. I hear it's a bit of an issue too.
Well, Oakland, now they'll just crash in through the front door with a vehicle, with a stolen car, stolen truck, and go in through the front and friggin' empty you out and do whatever. And the cops don't come.
They don't do much. They don't do anything.
They don't do much, and there's not much they can do in a lot of instances. It's like the laws are kind of against all of us right now. It's like anything less than $900, you don't even get arrested for. It's not, theft is cited and released.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
Yeah.
I know everybody's been warning me about don't put anything in or just be so careful. Like it's that bad.
You really have to be careful in San Francisco and in Oakland. You don't want to have anything in your vehicle in plain sight. It's pretty rough.
Are you guys allowed to conceal? Or you're not?
Some people have conceal, but it's not very common.
Hard to get?
It's hard to get. So it's harder to get. It's still possible, but yeah, it's not a normal thing for most people to have concealed carries. Like Texas, you don't see that stuff happening.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if everybody's packing, it's like, it's obviously got to change a lot of stuff, but it's like the Wild West out here. And I guess with the value, like in Canada, the price of cannabis has just gone down. Like we've seen areas that you guys, or territory that you guys haven't seen yet, because you guys still have red states. And obviously there's still thriving markets of people pushing stuff everywhere, right?
I mean, we're seeing the race to the bottom. It's interesting though. I see stability happening too, because we've just in California, it's 2018, they went recreational, right? So we had medical first before anybody in 1996, and then Prop 215. And then 2018, we passed for recreational, and a market that was completely unstable. When you have a market that's unstable, the thing is going from the traditional market, the medical market, which I feel was much more stable. We had better product that was fresher. And then it was the first person to get in, or the first people to get into the rec were the people that had the most money, not the people with the best quality, not the people who understood quality. And sometimes people scaled too quickly that had quality. And so what's on the shelves is shit product, right? Unfortunately. And so it's slowly correcting. I see good product on the shelves sometimes. I see good brands with good product and their product's bad because it sits on the shelf for too long. That happens a lot.
Yeah, it's a real problem in Canada, going from once it's finished to getting it on the shelves. Like having the SKU, you have to have it registered. And in some times, it's supposed to only take a month or two. And I've seen it take up to 4 months. Yeah. So if you have a product that doesn't have it, it's like you have to wait for this registration. I've seen a lot of times it taking 6 months to have finished product to actually get it on the shelves. And it's like, I know some people like doing a 6-month cure, but not for me. Like I like it when it's still sticky, like it burns, everything is snapping, but sticky. I like that flavor.
Exactly. I like it fresh.
Yeah. I like, and it has like a 6-week window of when it's only going to go downhill after that 6 weeks where, you know what I mean?
We have products like Terp Lock, which help, and storing it in cold temperatures help. But nothing beats a fresh, sticky product, especially if you get that sticky where it's not like sticky from it being wet, but sticky from resin.
Exactly. Every stem will snap, but the whole half pound sticks together. Like that's my trademark for any half pound that I've grown. You can pick it up.
Where it's almost hard to roll joints with it, but it rolls in a perfect,
well, it looks
shape.
Like you've been trimming after you've rolled one joint and your hands are all fucked up. But
where you can't even really use the grinders.
That's my style too, if I am going to be smoking for sure.
So you have a lighting company.
Yes. So I've been in the lighting business. I was with another company for 4.5 years, and then I branched off on my own.
Nice.
Wasn't kind of planned. It was kind of I kind of got thrown out to dry, basically.
Right.
But it was for the better, or else Grandmaster LEDs would have never started. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny how that works out. Sometimes the things that at the time in the moment they seem like these terrible things, and it ends up being a blessing in disguise.
Well, I'd stayed my whole life anonymous too. So I've been on YouTube for like years making videos. I had to remove hundreds of videos when they were doing the purge, but I've always stayed anonymous until when I left that company, they doxed me on this Roll It Up forum. So now like I've been public ever since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you're extremely public. I see your Instagram. That's actually how we connected, was through Instagram.
Yes.
And you are very opinionated, like our friend Alex, Miami Mango. I feel like you guys are.
I think unprofessional is a better
unprofessional.
Term.
That's a great term. But yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys speak your mind. You're not afraid to speak your mind, and you know, the world needs people like that are, you know, willing to argue and stand up. I'm not one of those people who likes to argue. I just rather not argue about stuff. I just put my content out there, but I love the fact that you guys do it.
Yeah, no, I can understand. I totally understand. Like I could have probably taken my career a lot further by just keeping my mouth shut and saying hi to everybody. And even if I saw something that isn't right, keeping my mouth shut. Right. Like for example, like just this week, I bought another competitor's light because something didn't smell right. And what I sent it to Light Laboratory in California here, and they're pretty much the most reputable spear testing place. And then it's like, all of a sudden I was right. You know, the efficiency is lower than what they're saying. Yeah. And I post that kind of stuff, and I guess you could say expose it, or if I see another company just misleading people in a really bad way, I'll say something even, you know, and sometimes it is going to cost me customers, but at the same time, I think for everybody it costs me, there are people that respect that I'm willing to do that.
Right.
And we're like, it's growing at a really fast rate. I think anybody that started at the same time with us is probably out of business by now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're every single month doing better. Well,
how it comes across to me is authentic, right? I feel like I'm authentic in my own way, and I feel like you're doing the same thing. You're authentic in your own way, and there's nothing wrong with exposing people for bullshit, right?
Absolutely.
This whole industry, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on within the industry, within products, within testing, and all these things. I think they need to change.
So many white papers have been faked, and like I really believe video evidence is better. Like when you can see it firsthand, like so many times everything has been faked, and it's like we've been led down these wrong paths because of it. And like anytime where I see a study that's been done in the later 2000s and it doesn't have video with it or pictures, I always have to question it, because why couldn't you be snapping pictures and showing what you're describing, but only putting it in words?
Right.
You know, and like, well, just even with some of the stuff we've done, we've discovered other people were faking their research.
Yeah.
And it's just such a big problem. Like everything we do is for the grower. Like I've been doing this my whole life. So like even we've designed it when we started, we've designed over 30 something lights. And in the first year, I learned some really big lessons. Like there was a big efficiency war originally. And I learned that diversity is more important than efficiency. And it's like, and same with other things like discovering far red and having far red into your lights and seeing the results. Like we made lots of mistakes and had to, re-register and redesign everything to make it the best. Yeah. So like, I'm not afraid to make a mistake and admit that I've done it and then correct it and kind of move forward.
Right. I mean, I think those are the best ways. Cause if you look at LED in the beginning, it sucked. It was fucking terrible.
100%.
It was awful. And it was something I said I'd never use, but I've learned from experience that I don't use that. I'm never going to try that again, because I feel like a lot of times we can dial stuff in and we can make it better. Spectrum tuning, stuff like that. I mean, we use science here and we have spectrum tuning. And I feel like if you know what you're doing, spectrum tuning can be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, to be quite honest, science is what gave me the direction that I went with our company when it went in the spectrum tuning, because they were the real first company that had the first concept that had that diversity. We just kind of took it to another level to be able to do stuff that their lights can't do and that, other lights can't do. And I think one of the biggest things with HPS and LED that people don't really realize is just like they want HPS results from an LED, but the spectrum is so much different. Like I know a lot of people try to say, oh, it's the radiant heat from it, but I do not agree with that. It is the temperature of the light is so much different. And it's like the second we're seeing people that have been using, we've developed the very first HPS spectrum. So there's no other lights
that can mimic a HPS spectrum.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of other companies that have far red in their lights, and they're usually like 2 to 3% at maximum, while at double-ended HPS have 10.4%.
Wow.
Well, ours have the ability to go up to 15% if you really want. Like they have the ability to, because far red can be used to stretch the plant. Like I know it's a really rare situation, but sometimes like you could have an area or a strain that you want to catch up with the rest of the room, so you can manipulate it to stretch.
I think some genetics work better when you stretch them too, as far as like giving it more node spacing.
Yeah.
You can get chunkier buds that way.
Absolutely. Having the ability to also limit the stretch if you want to by adding blue is such another huge thing. That's another thing that our blue that we use, well, it's just kind of a wider blue wavelength. Most lights like Science, and you could say almost 98% of companies have just a 450 nanometer blue spike, where we have a 450 and a 437. And you get those from using the Samsung EvoMint diodes. And they just, when I was testing them up against each other, we did lots of side-by-sides, like 2 spikes versus 1. And I couldn't see any type of difference really, because it's the same percentage of blue. But it just gives you the ability to have more blue. So like anytime when we're doing lots of different side-by-sides, I've seen lots of tests where like when we only had 1 to 2% difference, it's literally identical. Like if there's a 2% difference in a spectrum, you're not seeing anything. But you get up to 10 to 15%, and all of a sudden you can really see some crazy different expressions. You can have one piece of flower look like it's from a different planet, and it's the same cut.
Yeah, it's like, amazing.
Yeah, that's.
You can also completely fuck your crop up by using by tuning it incorrectly, by adding too much of this or too much of that, or playing around if you don't know what you're doing. And I've seen that happen before. And I'm one of those tinkerers where I like messing around, but I got my buddy Justin, he's really worked with the Science lights. And so he knows the recipe. And so I'd listen to him instead of playing around with it. I'm like, okay, this is.
You could totally screw things up, or like, I worry about that too. And we get a lot of people after buying them, because we have like 60 preset spectrums you can choose from. And they're like, well, what do you use?
Yeah.
And I try to tell people, I don't even actually pay attention to the different set spectrums. I just kind of think as warm white almost as a HPS, and cool white is a metal halide. Right. And then you can add the other reds in. I'm not the biggest fan. Like a lot of companies have gone in this direction where they have this big red spike. It's 660 nanometer. It's a 660 nanometer peak. And a lot of companies use like over double the amount that they should be using. And it's strictly to get a higher efficacy number to like look more efficient on paper. It's not for the plant. It's like they're doing it. And
specifically.
And what happens is when you add that extra red, it actually suppresses green. That's like really important. I think that's pretty essential. When you look at HPS, like a double-ended HPS, it roughly has about almost, I think it's like around 58% red and around like 38% green. And then the rest, I think it's like 4 to 5% blue. They just don't have nearly as much. I really think it's just the wrong route. Like if you look at an actual double-ended HPS, you'll see that like it goes from 600 to about 630 is where you see it. It doesn't even really have any 660. If it does, it's just at the very bottom.
Right.
And I've just seen people having better results with the fuller spectrum. I had a crop where I did 3 different spectrums with a cut where I've got over 100 runs in with it. It's called Death Bubba. Everybody has seen my Death Bubba videos. And when I still got 3 different results, like one of the buds was almost like 15 to 20% bigger, different trichome density, different bud structure. It's like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is the future.
Yeah.
100%. Like everything we're doing moving forward is spectrum tuning.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just another level. You can just take it to a different level. And the more you can tune in your room, the better, and then you can get really specific with genetics, and you're like, okay, well, this variety grows well under this spectrum and this one under this. And it's like, that's the future, right?
Well, having that test room with the 4 lights at bare minimum too, but we're working with this company in Missouri that they have a test room with 4 different ones. They put curtains in between it, and they make it like totally different. And man, they're really seeing a big competitive edge, because whichever one does the best, then they implement that as their base spectrum, but then they can also use it like with adding blues and different stuff to manipulate it, but know what base spectrum it's going to work the best. And most people have one spectrum. Right. So they're like, it's such a competitive edge to have.
Well, yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. Like as a breeder now coming in, now you're breeding these things and you're starting to understand how the spectrum works with the genetics that you're breeding. And then right out the gate, you can kind of get a good understanding of what's going to work well with what. And
especially for your own crew, or like coming up with your own proprietary light recipes that you can license out for those different genetics. Because like when everybody's using the same spectrum and the same genetics and the same food, it's like you really need to give something that's that
make it
competitive
different.
edge. Yeah,
I mean,
have an edge.
yeah, I mean, it's really interesting the direction the world is going in. It's like right when you think they figured it all out, boom, we got this. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg yet. I feel like there's so much more, with nutrition, with everything else, and everybody. There's a handful of companies that make good product as far as nutrition is concerned.
Absolutely.
But it's like we're still dialing it in. So dialing in yields, under canopy, inner canopy, all this stuff.
Yeah, we've been working on. We're probably about a month from releasing their under canopy. We ran into a little hiccup. Like I had everything ready to go, and then ours isn't just under canopy; it's lower side lighting too, and upper side if you want. And
Nice.
what I overlooked is the different distance in trellis bars between different tables.
Yeah,
and because there could be anywhere from 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, or even more. And we had to come up with a way to make the lights mount to those bars. So same with our under canopy. They float. They don't sit on different structures. So
oh wow.
yeah, we actually have a utility patent for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for all this under canopy and inner canopy and side lighting. I think that it's really cool. And I think, some of these guys are like, you don't need that. If you have the proper light at the proper distance, you're going to get the penetration. And I have yet to see that. And we're working with Faven. We've done some Faven trials, and
yeah,
I'm excited for the stuff that we're doing now. And it's like the potential's so huge for that. And the same thing with breeding, right? So if you make seeds, you're doing seed production.
Oh, you'd get so much more underneath.
Dude, it's like all those white, yellow seeds. Those now.
I didn't even think of that.
Dude, it's a game changer. So I'm actually trying in my seed production room. We're going to be able to tell you whether it's the under canopy, the light lift, or the combination of the light lift with the under canopy that yields the most seeds. So I'm very confident that one of those, if not all of them, are going to be extremely beneficial.
I think it's going to play a huge factor. Well, just having, I really recommend people, if they can, to build a light lifting system. I even have a DIY video that shows how to do it with pulleys and using a winch system. If you don't want to buy I know Think Grow LED has an option for doing it, and there's a few different options.
We got a Horizon light lift. But yeah, Think Grow has a cool one. We got the
so
Horizon.
Nice. Even
so nice.
Even going back for my whole commercial growing career.
Yeah.
Going back to almost the earliest days. Well, after about 2004, we would always have I'd build it on a crank system.
Yeah.
So you can always lift. I was never a double-ended HPS. I was a single-ended HPS guy.
I hate yo-yos. I absolutely hate.
I went from that to then I went and got into LED lighting and so yeah, my experience I didn't ever get the most, to be quite honest, that I ever yielded on a single-ended HPS was 2.85 pounds per light, with a Kush strain.
That's still really, really good.
I did many times between 2.5 and 2.65 and, went for half a decade over averaging over 2 when that was way above the average back then. Breaking 2 was a big deal.
1.5 was the average, just so you guys know. Back in the day, if you hit 1.5, 15 years ago, that was it. You were killing it. Yeah. And then Sour and Blue Dream, they would get around 2, maybe 2.2. The first time I hit 2.2 was with Sour.
Did you ever grow juicy fruit? I was growing juicy fruit from about 98 to about 2002. And I know that majority of it all came to here too.
It did. We saw the juicy fruit here.
Yeah, it was such a popular
amazing
strain.
That was the really good stuff that came from Canada, I believe, was juicy fruit. But we had a lot of the beasters that weren't so great that, it's they were all football pounds that were that big where they had smashed them in. And I think they ran 03 to kill the smell.
Oh yeah. There was just so much crazy stuff that we used to see, but yeah, it was such a popular one for years. I don't know if you guys ever had the old school hash plant that was from the 90s to the early 2000s. That's gone now.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some hash plants. I've seen a couple different varieties of hash plant coming down. So some, Afgoo was also a hash plant.
Yeah, this would have been, I would have made it at some point, but it would have been in the late 90s. It wouldn't have been that popular, but it was a biker strain. And it was just a super killer strain. I've been searching for it forever, just to get it back, and with no luck. People have given it, said, hey, I've got a cut of it. I've been holding on to it for 2 decades. And every time I grow it, it's not even close.
That happens all the time. I mean, I think that's the same thing with cat piss. There's a lot of people that say they have cat piss, but it's it's not the cat piss that I remember.
Oh, I sure remember a lot of cat piss strains.
Yeah.
There was a strain called Master Kush. I don't even know if that's what the real strain. I used to mono it with Death Bubba. It had the highest THCV that we'd ever seen by far.
Wow.
That got almost 7%. It was just under 7%. It was more than anything we'd ever seen. And was I grew it up until the point where Death Bubba was yielding more for me and I was getting the same money for him. And then I dropped it. And then I got it years later, about 4 years ago. Guy gives me 4 cuts and says, this is it for sure. Well, out of the 4 cuts, one of them was the real cut. One of them was a cross. And one of them was like this other PK strain that I absolutely hate. And it was just incredible. So after I got it, grew it out, I somehow managed to mark it wrong. So or somehow like the person I was working with didn't mark it correctly. It wasn't me personally. So I had to grow it out again. And then on the next crop, as soon as it was done, somehow my buddy must have, while he was walking out of the room, swapped the clones. So I threw out, like, this is after I lost it. The other one was a cross of it though. I was like, it grew small buds and had the smell, but was different. But anyway, so I threw it out, sent it to like 5 different people across Canada to like secure it for me. Then they started growing it out, and the strain didn't like light. Like, it couldn't take very much light. And all of a sudden I was like, I just couldn't believe that I got it back and then threw it away.
Lost it.
Never will I'll let someone else deal with it. I'll deal with it myself.
Right.
Or trust someone.
I've lost so many different things that I really loved over the years. You know, there's been so many great things that we didn't have tissue culture back then. We didn't have big places to keep our stuff alive, and we shared it with the wrong person and they lost it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I used to bring stuff up to Washington just so they could secure it for me, so I could go back at it. I lost sour diesel like maybe 6 times and had to go to Washington 6 different times to get it back.
Nice.
So that and the chem, we had the chem.
That's such a popular strain on the East Coast, on the sour D.
It was all grown here.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like I always hear people on the East Coast talking about people from New York just.
Oh yeah, they loved it. They loved it, and it was top, $6,000 a pound or whatever, top. But the thing is like, again with sour, it's like I have not seen the most amazing sour like it used to be. On average, we used to see a lot of good sour where you open the bag, it punches you in the face. It's so loud. It just, and the buds were so sticky. And I mean, the outdoor was nuts too. Like the outdoor was just as good as the indoor.
Yeah, your guys' outdoor market, it's so different than how ours, we don't have an outdoor market. We never have. Like no one, like I'm not saying that people didn't grow, but it never affected our markets. What was so crazy for up until potentially 2014, I would watch every single year at the end of August, September, the prices of indoor would skyrocket.
Yeah.
I watched it for about 15 years in a row. And then finally, I remember talking to my buddy just a few years before the 15 years, be like, hey man, you could just make a career buying stuff at cheap and selling it, months later when it's that.
Careers and retirements have been made on that for sure, dude, out there. I mean, that's it. Like, if you have the funds, the capital to do that, I mean, there's been people throughout the last 20 years that brokers that didn't even grow it, they can go buy for dirt cheap, hold on to it for 4 months, put it in some cold storage, and then unload it for 2, 3, 4, or 5 times as much as they paid for it.
Yeah, it's insane. So the first year that I tried it, buying 50 pounds was the first year there was a gap in the market where we hit uncharted territory. Well, it's funny because I think I had gotten it for like 17, and at 24 was the peak. Like we were used to seeing it at least go up to 28 to 29 every single year.
Right.
And then it went down to 24. And then, I still did all right with it, but it was the very first year. And then it's like we got in uncharted territory ever since that point on. And like we've just seen, like for our outdoor, it's just so different. We don't have like that outdoor crop. I've in my whole life I've ever seen anything. I've never seen it flooded with outdoor packs. Like no one's interested in like that. We're like a hub where everything is going out. You know what I mean? From all over the place. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, now Canada is exporting all over the world. I heard.
Yeah. Well, I've got like a good friend of mine that exports about 3,000 to 5,000 pounds a month, and he's all over the place. You name it. He's in like
Thailand,
16. He was the first person to export to Jamaica, and I don't know why they're exporting. But one of my a guy that I dealt with for years set up a chain of dispensaries across there.
Yeah.
Called the Canna Clinics. But
nice.
But it's just insane. Like I think there's still people that do it on the black market that bring it to the States just because of the gap in our pricing. I know it sounds crazy.
It does sound crazy.
There's people that will take it from the West Coast that bring it to the East Coast and going across to the States. It's just right now, like if, you can get really nice stuff for like say 500 Canadian a pound.
I probably wouldn't even recognize it because when I think of Canadian, I think of this super dense stuff that like doesn't have, you know what I mean? So it probably, if it comes down here, they don't call it Canadian. They just call it weed.
You wouldn't have a clue. You'd be surprised on like, just how horrible our market is. Like I can remember a while ago, a couple of years ago, one of my buddies was bugging me like crazy. He's like, I know you can help me. So I phoned a store for him to try to, I'm like, can you get him some picks? And I happened to be in town, and like I'm not involved in anything like that, but I happened to go by the store, and I saw these were the nicest picks I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Not one small piece. Like I'm talking, they were absolutely freaking beautiful. Like I've never in my life seen 8 picks that were just spectacular like that. And they I think they said it was going for like 800 Canadian, and they didn't even want to come down and look at it.
Wow.
I was like, holy shit, what is wrong with you guys? I've never seen that in my life. Like I've seen a lot of packs and never seen anything even close to that.
Wow. Well, yeah. And you guys are big into rosin. I mean, I got some friends from Canada, and they have amazing rosin. So you guys are producing amazing rosin and extract up there as well. And
yeah, well, BC Bubble Man,
Marcus Richen, for sure.
He's on our team. So yeah, he's
got the fire. He's always had the fire.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he kind of wrote the rules.
He wrote the fire. He wrote the rules for the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then I'm friends with Dave from Gastown. He was on the show.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's from Vancouver Island also too.
Yeah, he's got the killer. He knows
absolutely.
What's up.
No, he's in a really nice area in Tofino.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot on the island.
Yeah, I got to come back up to Canada.
Are you allowed in?
Maybe. We'll see.
Nice.
We'll see. I got kicked out of Canada for a joint.
Really?
Driving across the border. I only had a joint in the car, but it was in a tackle box, and they decided to search the car, and I was so upset that they were searching the car. I talked shit because I didn't think there was anything in the car, and so the whole time the guy's searching, I'm like, you find anything? Blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, no, we're going to find something. And sure enough, there was a tackle box in the trunk that had like a 4-year-old joint that had a little bend to it.
Oh, shit.
Pulls it up like, we got him, guys. And then I had paperwork in my back pocket. I'm like, I have a recommendation from California. That's medicine. And they're like, no, it's not. You're going across international borders with drugs. I'm like, no, not. That's a joint, and it's medicine. It wasn't even mine. That's the funny thing. But I did have a script on me. And so I ended up having to pay a $550 fine and got kicked out of the country for 5 years.
Okay. When was that? What year was that?
A long time ago. That was 2007, maybe?
Okay.
Maybe 6. So I'm okay. I mean, I got a felony, but we'll see.
Nice.
Ed Rosenthal, he goes across. He seems to be okay going over there.
Yeah. You know what? I think they're going to let you, like if you broke somebody's face with their legs, I think you have a better chance of getting across than if you're selling or got caught with like a trafficking charge or something. Right?
Yeah.
Like something like that. They just hate that shit.
Right.
Or I'm sure stolen property too probably doesn't go over. Doesn't fly very well. Anything
for
like
sure.
That.
But DUIs, I think if you have a DUI, you can't even get in Canada for the United States.
So stupid.
Silly.
Yeah. Well, it's especially, I don't know how 24 hour, I don't know, like they have a 24-hour here that's like a step down from a DUI, or is it only DUI?
It's only DUI.
Yeah. For us, you can get like a 24-hour where it's like, you just lose your license for 24 hours and you get it back or whatever.
They need to do that here. That's a good one. Yeah.
Like I've got him for bullshit when I wasn't even on anything. And the only shitty thing about it is I can't dispute it or anything. And like for weed, like it's happened to me. Like I remember going for a drive to pick something up from the store, and like my ride smelling like it, and I got taken down and I'm arrested for 24 hours. I remember like I was just picking something up from the store. My wife is like, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
Like so yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, so I mean they do need that here if it's a DUI. I guess it's a pretty serious charge. Or you can
it's big money, right? And so at the end of the day, they're not going to change it because they like the money that they get from the DUIs. I think it's and 0.08 is the percentage.
Oh, so you are allowed some.
You can have up to 0.08 in your system, and then anything over that, you pretty much go to jail.
Pretty sure Canada, it's zero tolerance now at this point.
Zero tolerance for driving.
I'm pretty sure it's like you're not allowed anything anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are drinkers too. Most of the Canadians are actually. Dave's not a drinker. Bubbleman's not really a drinker.
Yeah, no, definitely not Bubbleman. Like I don't, when I drink, I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
So I drink, but I only maybe have drinks maybe 1 or 2 times a year. It's not a very.
Do you ever see the movie Strange Brew?
I'm not sure. Like I'm it's not ringing. The name sounds familiar, but it's not ringing a bell. What's that? Was
like my first experience with Canadians in beer, but it was so long ago. But I remember the A. They said A a lot.
Yeah. No, I spent my 20s doing a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
A lot of club scene and stuff, and I got out of that. Well, I've got 3 daughters now. Yeah.
Nice.
Prefer edibles and cannabis over drinking.
Yeah.
I like the edibles actually.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not big on the edibles. I smoke joints. Edibles just don't sit well with me. I mean, the thing is like I'll do the microdose weed edibles. Like I'll do like two milligram,
Yeah.
and then I do the mushrooms too. I like the
Yeah.
mushroom microdoses too. Um, but like mushrooms, I can handle more than I can handle edibles for whatever reason. But I can smoke a big fat joint and be totally happy.
Man, if you don't have a tolerance, like even for me, I just quit for a while and then took it, and it's like I was getting way too fucking high, like
Yeah,
uncomfortably high, man.
like
Just
where I
like,
can't go out and do stuff. Like I can smoke and then go to work or go
yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? I can go
Well,
hang out.
it's not fun if you're like, my heart, my
Yeah,
breathing, okay.
it's
Like,
just normal. You're getting older.
well, I've given them to these guys. I've given them to a few people where they phoned straight up 911 and got an ambulance there because they think they're having a
Wow.
heart attack. This one guy I gave it to, like I have these gel caps that are like 350 milligram.
Yeah.
I gave one to him and I took it. He fell asleep, woke up, forgot he took it, and he's just thinks something is going on with his heart. Paramedics and everything come down there.
Oh no.
And they're like,
oh no. Yeah,
"Have you
300, that's a
taken
lot.
any fucking drugs?" He's like, oh shit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
took it. But I've seen a few people where this happens to. If you take
Yeah.
too much, it's just not fun.
I mean, I've curled up in the bed before I wanted to go to the hospital for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, well here, so in rec, you're limited to 10 milligram doses and 100 milligrams per package.
That's what I've been seeing. I've been buying them. I've been eating like a few hundred at nighttime. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Do you know what? It's better than Canada. I think in Canada we have 5. I've never even truly been in a legal dispensary in Canada. Never.
Really?
Never. Like it. Well, I personally, it's just not my thing. There'd be nothing for me to there.
Right.
And well, first of all, the edibles are just like baby doses too, right?
Totally.
5 milligrams, but
You got to eat a lot.
yeah, I don't like having to suck on a bunch of sugar or eat a bunch of sugar either if I'm going to, like once in a while, but I don't want to be eating a
Right.
bunch of sugar every single night. So I always have them in gel caps. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to go for sure.
Mhm.
MCT oil.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff.
I like making like high-end rosin that people would be smoking and using it for edibles.
I think rosin's the best for edibles. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that works
absolutely.
great.
That's like I normally was making it from flour, and just recently, like I'm just getting into water hash because of Bubble Man, and like I'm
Yeah.
making it all. And man, the difference in potency is so fucking kicky. It's so much different. Like
Yeah, same milligram, but it's way more. But so I like the gummies that are made from rosin.
yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Like anything that's made from rosin, like for whatever reason, I would always notice that if you have edibles that were made from BHO,
Yeah.
after you'd get like these nasty burps
Totally.
from like the taste of
Yeah.
it. Like, and when people are making distillate, that stuff, there's like some pretty stinky stuff that comes out of it.
Some of the crude.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. My buddy nicknamed it the fish stuff, but that gross stuff
Yeah.
is like what you're it's that you're burping that stuff like it's
Hot dog water.
Because
Yeah,
when I take it from rosin, I don't have those burps at all. It's completely gone. You don't. So it's like it filters that out when from the heat or whatever, the lipids or whatever, the fats aren't in it. So
It's like the hot dog water in the carts.
yeah,
Yeah, that's nasty. But yeah, I like the rosin gummies. Rosin Tech makes these amazing ones. I don't remember the flavors, but they had some. Like I feel like you get the taste of the rosin is also good. You get the terps.
yeah,
And it's complimentary a lot of times, especially with sweet stuff.
yeah. I was noticing like it's the pricing here, like the stuff for $20 for 100 milligrams, really tasting really nice high end gummies. Those stuff for $10, I'm surprised it's not that bad, but you can definitely taste
the difference.
Well, taste the difference. And then I'm thinking in my head, oh, why did I buy the cheap shit? Well, first of all, I don't want any cheap shit. There's a reason why they're selling it fucking so cheap. And I know that you guys I think it's from what my understanding, it's like the Wild West for your guys' dispensary, like pesticide testing and stuff. Like in Canada, it's so like everything is tested so thoroughly. There's no way you're walking into a dispensary and getting stuff with pesticides. Like it could happen.
I would say here it's the same way too. I mean, there's some people that have circumvented and cheated and gone around it, but like in the dispensaries in California, I can't speak for every state, but I would say that it's pretty heavily tested, and they're coming down on the labs that are,
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Because like I kind of thought it was still kind of like the Wild West with the dispensaries, like up until like Canada. There used to be like in downtown Vancouver, like over 100 black market dispensaries. They were accepted by the police. They're paying
Totally.
licenses, but then every single one got wiped out. Like they were completely gone, and there's no more black market dispensaries. It's only legal
Well, like New
dispensaries.
York has the bodegas, right? So like you can do in New York, but California doesn't have the bodega model really. But we have THCA, and so THCA you can find that in gas stations, liquor stores, CBD shops, and it's THCA flower that's grown under hemp license a lot of times. And so these guys there's this loophole right now. It's going to get sealed up, but
I've been hearing about it. Yeah, I didn't fully understand it. Like,
yeah,
say,
it's wild.
Yeah, like, because like I remember I was speaking to this guy in Colorado that was like, he was so happy because he was allowed to like sell THCA now
Yeah,
to some other state. He's like, my bank just accepted me. Like he was all excited about it.
yeah.
Because I guess that's, well, I already know it's an issue here. I'm with Chase, and I had an issue like when we got paid by a cannabis company. Like we can't even be paid from
Not
a
in
cannabis.
Chase. Yeah, I don't like Chase. Chase is the worst.
Are they?
Yeah, I can't even have an account there. They blocked me from having an account. But
yeah.
But yeah, like in cannabis, like Chase is not cool with any of it. THCA is considered hemp under the Farm Bill that was passed. It falls under the category unless it's converted to a Delta 9, then that would be considered THC, but it has to be above 0.3%. So you could have Delta 9 at 0.2%, and it could have 27% THCA, and it's considered hemp. And you smoke it, it still gets you high, still tastes amazing, still that same plant, but it's categorized differently.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're in an interesting, I mean, this is an interesting day and time that's evolving, and it's not going to stay this way forever. Things are changing.
I still think though, like with all the damn red states, like it's got to be so thriving. There's got to be so many people just crushing it. That's all
Dude, the THCA people that are selling you working under the hemp are crushing it in Texas, because Texas isn't legal for cannabis. It's not. It's a recreational. Who knows if it'll ever pass recreational? I would hope it would someday, but it's not right now. But THCA is in all the CBD shops. So they have jars, and they have jars from Oregon and from wherever, and you can find your popular brands, and all of it's there. You can go online though. You can go online and you can type in THCA and your favorite company. Cookies is selling theirs. Even Cookies has theirs.
Crazy.
But yeah, so you have a pretty big Instagram following. So tell us about Instagram and your history with social media. You've been on YouTube for a long time.
Yeah, so I had hundreds of videos on YouTube. So at any given time, I would be documenting anywhere from like 2 to 6 to 7 operations. So like I was a commercial size medical grows for a long time, like for about 15 years, where I would have anywhere from, I don't know, 150 to 500 lights going, really depending on what's going on. So I used to make like, in some weeks I would put out 10 videos. Like I literally did it. Besides the growing, it was almost full time, where I'd have crops where I would have over 50 videos out just for one crop, where each video is anywhere from, 5 to 20 minutes, where I'm covering every last part of it.
Wow.
And it was like a passion for me. And I helped a lot of different people all over the world with it. And then they had this YouTube purge. I don't know if you ever remember about it, where it's like all of a sudden YouTube channels, half of everybody I knew was taken out. Right. And so at that point we were like, I removed, I had over 700 grow videos and like a couple hundred live streams. I removed everything, and I opened up a Zoom account, and we started taking everything to Zoom. Wow. We have like, at one point it was like a 500 to 600 person live audience we had built up every single week. As soon as we went to Zoom, we were down to like 200. We did that for like about a year. And then I felt it, YouTube, like some channels were coming back and the tide was changing. I just felt like I came back to YouTube. And then obviously the algorithms changed, like it used to be.
Well, and it keeps changing. I feel like the one thing now that's the constant is that it's going to keep changing. Same thing, Instagram, it's constantly changing.
It sucks.
You can never catch up to it because it's constantly changing. It's so complicated, and they use so many data points that they're pulling from, and there's so many qualifications for videos, and they use AI. So if there's a weed leaf on your shirt, you're not going to get subscribers. You're not going to get viewers on any of the platforms, so except for maybe Twitter. Twitter's been more open about that.
Yeah.
But Twitter doesn't have the same, for me, Twitter doesn't have the same results as Instagram or YouTube.
Yeah. Like at one point, if you had a title, whoever had the most views, and it's the same title, came to the top. That was like the ultimate. And X is supposed to be like that,
Right.
but I'm just a nobody on X. Like I'm trying to give away a light to get over 1,000 followers, and it's been a month. Like I haven't been plugging it every day, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's so hard to get to that point. Like I'm sure if I had 20,000 people, I could totally grow from that point on. But because I'm being seen by so little, it's like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing for like YouTube. Like try to start a YouTube channel from scratch and try to make it. It's impossible. You would need a big break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
That's what we had. We grew. We have now 12,000 subscribers, and I feel like Ricky Palomino, when he was talking about Snoop Dogg, it went viral. And I think those are when you're talking about celebrities or popular things, popular search topics. Those, we got 6 million views on one short on YouTube.
That's insane. Yeah,
it just kept growing, and I'm like, is it going to stop? And Ryan, is it going to stop? And he's like, I don't know. You think it's going to stop? And I'm like, I don't know. And we went on for 8 weeks, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, it's just really, it's crazy. And like one of the strategies for us was like crossing traffic with other people and doing collaborations. Like we're actually, do you know who Mercules is? He's with Death Row Records. He's actually performing for Snoop Dogg right now on their tour that they're doing.
Nice.
And we're doing a collaboration with him, and we're making mercs. So we're making some really pimp ass glasses that are going to come with our lights, and he's also going to be selling them.
What is the best spectrum for LED glasses? What is the best color?
Well, here's the thing is like there's some companies that make them that claim protection, but I'll tell you, you can put it on and it's like blinding. So we already have our own glasses. When you put them on, it's like a green color, but it gives you almost, like I'm going to say 99% protection. Like I can turn the lights at full power and look at them, and I have like actual protection. The only issue is it's like a green color, but after about 5 minutes, it adjusts.
Right.
So your eyes do adjust. But
I have green ones too. Yeah.
I think we're working on we're going to have a few different lenses, and but we're definitely going to keep on working on it until we have something. So like we haven't finished our lens, but we've just finished the design of the glasses. So
yeah, you need tunable glasses that can tune to the different light spectrums.
Yeah, like
auto tune on the glass. You just push a button and it tunes with the light. Yep.
Yeah, being able to the eye protection. I think it's something that's overlooked. Like, oh man, your eyes can like after working in there or trying to work in far red or like too much 660. It's so bad. Or yeah, just like when you walk out of a room after you've done it, like you're so blinded too. So yeah, it's like it's something people should be paying attention to. And
yeah, I mean, these are the type of things I think about for employees. Like I don't, it's not even the liability aspect of it. It's more so that their health and their eye health. And I'm getting older myself, so my eyes have gotten worse. The second I was fine. Everyone's like, when you turn 40, and the truth is when I turned 43 is when my eyes got fucked. I'm 47 now, but like my eyes went to where I needed bifocals. I didn't get bifocals, but now I have 2 different lenses. So I have one more concentrated that's for distance, and then one that's for nearsighted.
I could see that. Yeah, you have to be. I've had really good eye vision, but I like my whole life and stuff. But I kind of feel like they've taken a toll from the years of the lighting and everything, like being around it like crazy.
Well, we're in a beautiful time too. They have lens surgery to where they can pull the lens off your eye and put a new lens on, and they can give you better than 20/20 vision as long as your vision's stable.
Yeah.
So let's dive into talking about genetics, because I know you're a big genetics guy. You love genetics. You love cannabis, at least from what I get to see.
Yeah. Yeah, to be quite honest, like I'm all the stuff, majority of the stuff I have is really old school. Well, like old school OG lineage. And there's a big problem in Canada. I don't know if it's as bad in the United States with just renaming. And like so much stuff just gets
the worst.
It just like in BC alone, like when Purple Kush hit, it just, there must have been 100 different names for it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's a big, big problem. I've had this strain. It's kind of funny. There's quite a funny story. If you even Google it, it will lead you down the wrong path, called Death Bubba. And like the Death Bubba name came from us getting it into a dispensary. Like, and it was just an accident. Like everything, like growing up in the 90s, we'd call, like if it was something was really good, we'd describe it as the death. I got the death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we
had the kill.
Yeah, the kills. I got the kills. I got the death.
That killer,
Exactly. So, and then like after PK, like different types of Bubba started coming on the scene, and they started becoming really popular. Like, and they were killer. Yeah. Like, and how the name actually happened, there was a buddy of mine took it to this dispensary, Eden in Vancouver, and it was one of the biggest chains. And I remember just saying to him, just show it to him, get him to smoke it. Look at the death.
Yeah.
It's the death, man. It's and then like my buddy's like, it's Death, it's Bubba. And then like somehow he said it's Death Bubba. And that's how the name got started. And what's kind of funny is I dealt with a lot of people, but I didn't deal with the main guy. And the main guy I got put in touch with him by Bubble Man just like a couple of weeks ago. It's like, I have to ask you about this, because he was the person in charge of it. And yeah, they absolutely loved it. It was their number one seller until we stopped giving it to them. And same with the MK.
Wow.
It got so popular that other dispensaries just started copying the name. Like there'd be lineups outside the door for people to get it.
Right. So people would just rename it.
Yeah.
So, that's such BS. But yeah, it happens all the time. The MK Ultra, was that?
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. Those were the two strains we had, Death Bubba and MK, but they decided just to call it MKU. Like Eden made this decision to call it MKU. Like we never said that. And we just called it MK. And then everybody just copied it. And there is a really good MKU strain, but it's nothing like this, like the Master Kush that I was growing, or even related.
Oh, yours was so MKU is MK Ultra, but
they called
renamed it, they called your MK.
And then people just started stealing the name. And because like the strain became so popular, there was another really good MKU strain. So, unless you're from like the early 2000s and you bought that and stuff, most people don't know the difference, because like MKU is like a really popular strain that a lot of people diehard grow and like it, which in my opinion is more like the Bubba strains. Like there were all these different Bubba strains that I felt were somewhat related, even though they had different flavors, and like they all had OG in them.
Soapy OG.
Yeah.
I love Bubba. I think Bubba got bastardized in the Bay Area. So what happened is it became the commercial strain because you could harvest in 54 days. And so the Asian community blew it out. I mean, blew it out like there was no tomorrow. This is before Runts and before LCG. Bubbas were the big thing. And I grew up with a different Bubba. It's the same thing with Master Kush. We had a Master Kush that would branch out laterally. So you'd get lateral, so the bracts would grow sideways, almost like a Christmas tree. So the buds, they were ugly looking or weird looking. I wouldn't say ugly, but they were almost like Charlie Brown Christmas tree looking buds.
Okay.
And then we had the Bubba, and the Bubba was like this soapy, smelled like Irish Springs, OG, gassy. Both of them were extremely gassy, extremely pungent. And those were the exotics of my day back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, one thing about the two that it's a really big difference that I would notice, like Death Bubba and Bubbas could go purple and lighter color with yellow leaves, where the Master Kush strain that we had, no purple, it goes completely only yellow in the
yellow
leaves.
And lime green, like somewhere in there,
yeah, but no purple at all. Right. And it was the Death Bubba was also a lot more forgiving of a strain, where you make a little mistake or feed it too much food, you could kind of recover and go a little bit longer. Nice. Master Kush, it's like you give it too much food or do anything or you lock it out, you're fucked. It just shuts down.
Yeah, so that was my experience too with OG Kush back in the day. It was a finicky strain. It was totally worth it, but I never got really big yields with OG, but it was like the best smoke ever. And everyone wanted me to grow it, but I didn't want to grow it because the yields were so bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew it for myself for smoke. Same thing with cookies. I grew that for myself for smoke back in the day, but it wasn't like the big producer. And I grew a combination of different, I always like having different flavors.
Oh, totally.
But I also like mastering flavors and mastering growing one thing.
Like we've tried multiple breeding projects. Like anybody that ever got the Death Bubba could never get it to produce pollen. It's kind of weird. Like before, different people attempted it and they'd get pollen sacs, but no one ever got any pollen out of it. But I'm still yet.
SFE is like that.
Okay.
I think SFE Mac 1 is a partial triploid, like a natural partial triploid. Yeah. And so
that's what I think. It might be naturally or not. I'd be interested to see someone cross it.
Yeah.
See how that.
See what happens when you. Reverse it. You make some pollen. See if you can reverse it even.
Yeah. Well, even if you can't reverse it, you could still cross it though. No.
You could still pollinate it.
Yeah. You could still pollinate it. And like it. The thing I like about it is the stability of it.
Yeah.
What's really weird is I would get over the 20 years of growing it, like I could get it to produce seeds.
Yeah.
But only like a few. Like my cousin, he could barely fit through the aisle of the room. And I remember when he's walking through, the plants are like shaking like crazy. Well, say out of 40 pounds, we might have got 30 seeds.
Wow.
Like, found 30 seeds throughout the crop, all fully mature. And on one of them, I remember sprouting them. And they were literally, the phenos were identical. Like you couldn't tell the difference. But back then we didn't have I wasn't COAs getting them tested, but like I didn't even keep them because they just looked identical. I kind of regret not it.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's when you have stable genetics, right? Like that's a good sign of stability when the seeds come out exactly like the parent,
But
especially
like
the S1s.
I've never seen any type of male flower or anything on it. Like, so it must be internally that it does it and it pollinates itself, like for it to produce the
So,
seed.
well, that's a survival mechanism that the plants have. And like
Yeah.
typically a plant will, if they're under any sort of stress, will produce a seed. Well,
Okay.
sometimes it's only one seed. And I mean, even the most stable varieties will produce a seed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
And it like, almost every other crop I would also see like, and this is, I can remember it for 10 years, like out of nowhere, you'd see like this weird growth coming out of it, like where you'd be 6 weeks in flower, but then you all of a sudden, like a lower branch would have this like 3 week old growth, kind of weird. And I would always cut it out and not, but I never ever see it. It clearly always stuck out because, hey, why is it doing that?
right.
And it also, another cool thing about the strain is it will have round tops and pointy tops. And like, for whatever reason, like lately it's just all pointy, but like on the last person I saw grow it, we were seeing a bunch of round tops again. And I can't explain why it does that. But
Light spectrum.
or yeah, I guess so, huh?
Probably light spectrum. Something like that. I would say it's environmental.
But I'm saying even in like the same room.
Even in the same room on the same plant?
Yeah,
Or,
like in the same room with multiple
wow.
plants, like you'll see some that are pointy and then some are round. Like,
Interesting.
like under the same spectrum, you can get different results. That's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Like I saw it for a year. Like, all my crops I've got 2 under LED with Death Bubba, and I've got probably like 100 plus under HBS with it.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I monocropped it because for a decade.
Yeah.
Well, it
When
was
people love it though,
Yeah,
and you never get sick of it. Like that's the true sign that it's amazing too, is when people never get sick of it. You never get sick of it.
yeah.
Because like something like green crack, I loved growing green crack, and then I would smoke it, and it would be cool for like the
First
first
couple days.
yeah, I mean, even the first couple weeks, like it gets you really high the first couple days, and then you build a tolerance to it, and then after a couple weeks, you're like, nah, I don't want to ever grow this again. And
Yeah.
then I might grow it again a couple years later. Or
Yeah, I've definitely
whatever.
grown it before too and feel the same way about it.
Nitrous oxide and beef jerky. Those are the terps. So yeah, that's what I get on the nose with that stuff. And I didn't actually make that up. I read that online. Somebody else wrote that, but I was like, fuck. And you smell it. It smells like nitrous oxide and beef jerky. And, but yeah, that's the one where it's like in the beginning, it gets you super high. And then by the time you're building a tolerance to it, you start sharing it with your friends. You're like, why are you guys fucking so high? But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, these days I like to just, obviously selection is key, like having so many different flavors and
Stuff to pick from.
yeah, well, I like I like 6-star hash or like really high end rosin and like having
Yeah.
a bunch of different flavors. And what I like about it is being able to have it, put it in the freezer, and 6 months later it's still nice.
That's
and
the
fresh.
yeah.
That's like you can't beat that. That's where it's like
I do that with flour too, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like flour, I can come out a year later and it's still pristine.
by just sticking it in the
Yeah, so you cure it properly. So you dry it, you cure it properly, and then you put it in a sandwich bag loosely, and then you vacuum seal it,
and then in the freezer.
and then in the freezer. And you
Great.
want a stable freezer that doesn't have ice or anything like that. And you label and date it, and you're good to go. The first person that ever showed me that was a guy named Ben from IC Collective.
Okay.
And, it's like game changer. I've smoked stuff that was 2.5 years old that was pretty fucking amazing.
Cool, man.
So,
Yeah, like so that's kind of one of the biggest things why I like it. And like also with water hash too and making everything fresh, which I'm about to start doing.
yeah.
I just like the idea that you're getting every last bit of resin. Like how much are you losing
Mm-hmm.
when you're harvesting and like in trimming and like what's a fair number? 25% by the time everything is shaken and everything is moving versus if you're washing it or if it's going right into the freezer frozen.
I just smoked some bubble hash that was like 4 years old in my freezer because I'm moving, and friggin' it tasted amazing.
Yeah,
Tasted
well,
really good.
that's exactly
Extract.
like I have a little 6 light medical where I can also test different lighting and use it for R&D. But
Right.
I've been growing 3 strains, but I plan on doing it to like 6 strains so that I can have 6 flavors, wash them, and then just keep on storing them in my freezer. So like after a few years, I'm gonna have just a shitload of flavors for when people come over.
Right.
Yeah.
Variety is always nice.
Absolutely. Just having that selection. And also just for if you're doing edibles or everything,
Yeah, and they all have different effects too. Like, so I'm big on the effects. Like, more recently, since my buddy Dave has passed, I've really been thinking a lot about what's important. at the end of the day, the effect and the flavor. I mean, but I kind of went away from putting an emphasis on effect and was so heavily focused on flavor for a long time. I'm also a chef. Also get excited about flavors and I get
Yeah,
excited about effect too, but like I like the effect of cannabis in general. But like there are certain cultivars and certain varieties that you smoke that are like, wow, I feel fucking great. Or wow, I'm fucking awake first thing in the morning. Or wow, fucking I can go to bed.
absolutely. And being able to just have those when you want them, it's kind of nice. Or even
Totally.
the combination of combining them.
Yeah.
I really like tolerance breaks. Like, well, I don't like necessarily like because I use it to sleep and I kind of have serious insomnia without, but at the same time, it's like your tolerance just gets so strong, and it's like you're take like every now and again. I like to take like a full month off. It's kind of hard for me to do,
Yeah.
getting through the first week. So like I literally when I quit edibles, like and after I built my tolerance, I literally withdraw. Like my body is physically addicted. I need it to sleep, and
Right.
so like I go through hell for about a week, but after that week, and then like on the 30-day mark, it's just like you get so high when you try smoking something or like first or edibles is almost too strong. I have to go so light afterwards, but it's just
Right.
kind of nice to have that tolerance break and really feel what it can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. I have a tough time with tolerance breaks, like real
Yeah.
tolerance breaks. Going
Yeah.
to shows, going to events, it's like the majority of my friends smoke, and so
Exactly.
and we're always excited to dude, you got to try
Tr-
this or you got to try that.
exactly.
Oh, dude, like yeah, this white thorn rose. I got some of that, and I was sharing it with all my friends, and it's like, oh, it's fucking feel good weed. And
Yeah.
I like, and I'm back to I like some of those feel good ones where it's not really an indica, it's not really a sativa where they would classify it as narcotic or, stimulant. It's somewhere in the middle where you smoke it and you're just like you got a big smile on your face. Every
Yeah.
time you smoke it, every time I smoke that Whitethorn Rose, my buddy's Blue 13, it puts a smile on my face and I feel good. Like I just
Nice.
feel it doesn't matter whether it's in the morning, whether it's at night, it's just feel good weed. And there's just something about those where it has just those effects where it's like you feel great.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I haven't tried. I mean, I've tried the rosin of the whitethorn. That was same thing. But the problem is when it's good like that, and I only had a gram, I just smoked it all because it's
Yeah.
easy to smoke a gram when it makes you feel good.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, so how did you get your start in the industry? You've been at this a while, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember like, well, 1994, guy I knew, he was like running some people from a park, and he just running through property after property and runs into like this crazy ass field, like with hundreds of plants in full flower. So, that was kind of my start. Well, like he just started telling everybody, and we had garbage bags and pounds. The biggest problem was trying to dry it.
Yeah, I bet.
And then, yeah, like, since then, and like I got in a lot of trouble as a teenager. Lucky for the Young Offenders Act in Canada, because anything you do gets sealed when you're
Right.
19 or whatever. So, definitely had a lot of ups and downs and just got in a lot of trouble. Once I was about 17 years old, I kind of figured out the right path or became pretty good at what I was doing,
Yeah.
and then just kind of stuck with it my whole life. Like, well, 96 was the very first indoor that I got into. It was kind of funny. I remember I was walking through a path in my neighborhood, and I just happened to be walking by, and this guy opens his door, and the light just comes blaring out. I see it, like you can't hide it.
Yeah.
And he sees that I saw it. He tells me to come over. And then I'm like, no, don't worry. I'm cool. We ended up started talking. And it was just a 4-lighter, but he didn't have any money for nutrients. It was funny. I remember buying General Hydroponics, and that was our very first 4-lighter. And
So 3-part was good back in the day. I remember 3-part, and I never had a problem with it back in the day. I never hated on it.
oh no,
Uh,
that's what everybody, like, let's be honest, in the mid
yeah.
90s, like that's what everybody used. And I remember was Aussie Tonic? Was that what it called? It said for bigger bank accounts and larger yields. There was this other product. I used a couple
Yeah.
other products, Cool Bloom, and just a few other things that we used back then.
Yeah.
And I had like lots of success. And then like by the time I was in like the early 2000s, I was more like the person in charge. It wasn't me really growing.
Yeah.
And I went on a pretty nice run with that for quite a while. And I actually had gotten into out of it for almost like a couple of years because I was playing poker. Like
Nice.
I evolved into playing online poker, and then I'd done really, really well. Like I was playing 16 tables at a time, and a couple 100,000 hands, well, over a couple 100,000 hands a year, and doing really successful at it, just killing it. And then one day, everything got seized by the FBI. Like Poker Stars and Full Tilt got shut down, and they seized all the money. And that put me, yeah, like it was crazy. Like, and it was, I ended up getting my money back like a year and a bit later or whatever. But I was like relying on that. And like I was doing, I thought, okay, well, this is my career, what I'm going to do. I'm really good at this and I can make money. But then that happened, and that like pushed me back into growing. And I remember I bought these because like this isn't legal. These are still the Wild West. And we bought these cargo trailers that were like portable, so that like you can just hook up the power and water. If there's an issue, you can get them out of there.
Right.
So I bought like I set them up like a 10 liter and an 8 liter. And on the very first crop, like I'd been so out of touch with growing, like, cause it wasn't me, the one that was doing it. And I like, this is hilarious, but on the 10 liter, I got 2.5 pounds, the total crop, and the 8 liter, like 1.5 pounds. And I literally locked them out like totally. And like, I remember my buddy being like, how does it feel to be like the worst grower in the world? Like a couple of people were just riding me. I was like going crazy. I was like frustrated because I needed the money too. And it was like, then I just went and I talked to every last OG I know, picked their brain, like that's growing the true kills. And it's like on the next crop, I just knocked it out of the freaking park. And then like, just from that point on, it just kind of got better and better and better. And then the medical licensing came out, and that was just like so nice when it came out, having an actual medical license and having that security. I remember when it first got issued, you actually get like a government ID.
Oh, wow. And
I remember getting stopped, and the cops are like, oh, fuck, like they could smell it and everything. I remember showing it to him. The cop had never even seen it or even heard of it.
That's
like,
great.
What the fuck? I remember just having that card being like, oh,
it's literally your get out of jail card.
Yeah. It's just like such a relief. And when the cops weren't used to it either. So then, I just went on a really nice run doing that. And then I started making YouTube videos. And then like one day I made a video saying like, hey, if there's any LED companies out there, send me an LED and I'll prove that it works. Because I was an HPS guy and didn't believe in them at all.
Yeah.
And finally a company reached out to me, and I tried it, and like I could see that, hey, this is working pretty nice. And like halfway through the crop, I was like, hey, if this goes well, can I get the Canadian distribution rights? And they were like, sure. At the time they were nothing and didn't have any money anyways, and they were happy to be working with me, and they were like, sure.
Yeah.
So then that went on, and then it was kind of crazy how fast things happened. Like, and then 4.5 years later, I ended up just starting my own company.
Nice. Yeah, it's amazing how stuff can snowball.
Yeah, well, it's like the power of, I always try to tell people that anything can happen so fast. Like what can happen in 1 year if you work on it every single day and don't give up? It's pretty crazy. Like the power of doubling too, like or having one facility and going to 2 facilities and then going to 4, 3, and so on.
Scaling is an art too. That's
But having a work ethic and also knowing about, I think it's also a skill to be able to pull the plug too when you need to. Like not every idea I've had, like even with the LED lighting, like we've made plenty of mistakes and had to change direction or change what we're doing, or you have to be able to identify, hey, this isn't working. I got to pull the plug and change something or adjust or adapt.
Being okay with making mistakes is one of the biggest things in business.
Yeah.
If you can learn how to be okay with making mistakes, then you have no fear, and also recognizing that it's a mistake.
Take responsibility.
Yeah. Because I feel like I've made, over the last 2 years, especially with James Ladd Genetics, I made a bunch of mistakes, but I learned from them. Absolutely. And they made me smarter. They made me better at what I do. I'm focused on the plants now and being the one that's making the decision.
Absolutely. Like I've always kind of said that, like you have to take responsibility. If you can't admit it or try to blame it on somebody else, you're not going anywhere fast.
Well, and sometimes there's like, I've had to come to Jesus moments where I realize that nobody's going to come there to save me. I got to save myself. Right?
Absolutely.
And those are some great experiences I think that we all need to go through, because a lot of times in life, even when it's talking about, I've been going to the gym lately by myself, and I've had workout partners. I like workout partners to a degree, but I also just like going and doing the work. And nobody's going to come save you. You want to get in shape, you got to do it yourself. If your friends can't go work out with you, you need to go to the gym. If you want to be in shape, maybe you don't. Maybe you can go for a run. Maybe you can go for a walk. But same thing with the plants. If nobody's going to, if you
Well,
don't have anybody that's going to go thin the plants out, you got to thin them out yourself. And that's just the truth and reality of it. And the sooner you can get over that kind of stuff and just suck it up and say, fuck it, this is what I got to do. I want to be successful. I want to be the best person that I can be. I think those are the important things.
Funny you said the gym, because like that is one thing, like I've been trying to brace myself. I haven't done any real physical workout or any like work, been at a gym since my early 20s.
Yeah.
But in the last month, I've been doing a couple hundred push-ups a day, trying to brace myself. And it's like, yeah, like you said, like no one's going to do it unless you do it yourself.
Yeah. No one's going to come save you. No one's going to come force you to go to the gym. Yeah. I mean,
and it's so hard. Like, I just even remember, like, it's kind of motivating now because I can do it so easy. But after the first day of just doing, or a couple of days, I was like, you just get so sore, and getting it over that hump of being able to just have the motivation to do it too and want to do it.
One, I think there's showing up, and I think that's important because that's repetition, and that's it requires a certain amount of discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just showing up, right? Just getting there and showing up. That's great. But then when it comes to working out, like putting the effort in, because I look around the gym and they all look the fucking same as when I was going to the gym 2 years ago. And I'm getting really good results right now because I'm putting the effort in. And when I go, I make each rep count. I don't do long workouts. I do shorter workouts, but I go there and I'm there for a purpose. And I'm there. I'm not there to socialize. I'm there to get shit done, just like I am at work.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the Emerson effect.
The Emerson effect. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that lately, just like online and stuff. And I think it's a little bit confusing because people think the Emerson effect, that means a lot of people think that's like putting your plants to sleep.
Right.
And it's not. It's just really the combination of 680 nanometer and or lower and 720 nanometer and higher. So basically, it's just having deep red and far red combined together. It allows the photosynthesis of the plant to be more efficiently. And like we've seen lots of people just without even like using it to put the plants to sleep, have faster crops by anywhere from like 2 to 5 days.
Can you explain the difference between deep red and far red?
So deep red is like 660 nanometer, like if you're looking at it on a scale, and far red is 730. So it's just like they're right next to each other. Deep red, like too much far red also is not good for your plants. Like far red, like in double-ended HPS, a lot of people criticize it too because they don't understand it, and they're all like, "Oh, it's got way too much far red if it's got 6%." But then, like a lot of people blame stuff on far red, but then I always argue back, well, HPS has 10.4% and it's never turned off.
Yeah.
So I always come back to that and say it's another variable that you're blaming it on, far red. I find far red just so beneficial. Like when we were adding, like we have lights that can control it independently or that have it fixed in, and we could just see that having it in the spectrum, the plants like it better. They pray better, just everything about it they like better.
They get better color. If you're going for color, which color is such a big qualifier now, it's one of the boxes that needs to get checked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think what I've seen with the Favens is you're getting, with their under canopy, they have far red. And
does it have far red in it?
It does.
Okay.
It does. And it also gets purple buds on the bottom that are big.
Yes.
And so I think that's just, I think the potential for that. So I'm excited to see your
Absolutely. Well, we've kind of designed it to have more light per watt than everybody else, and we're going to be coming in with a cheaper price. So we're kind of going to shake up the industry like we've done with a lot of our other lighting.
Great.
What we've really shaken up the industry just with some of our lighting with the value in it. And the reason why we're able to do that is because we're extremely efficient. Like we've been at this for a while, and it's like everything we've done, we're setting up where like our competitors are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on rent where we don't pay rent. Like for our Michigan distribution, we just bought our building. Like, and we're just in that aspect, we're just set up so much more efficiently. Like I built an army of people working on commission, over 50 people. And you don't get paid unless you actually make a sale. And it's just a lot more motivating for people. I've always tried to do that too with grows. Like all the grows over my years, like I didn't like having workers. Like I like having partners. Make someone a partner. We bleed together if we're going to bleed. And it's motivation. And like I've always trying to, it doesn't always work out. And I've broken so many people trying to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I like trying to start a business. I remember like we could just say other businesses on the distribution and people think, oh, I'm going to start that. And it's like, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Like trying to start something like that. Yeah. Try working it every single day yourself for a year.
Yeah.
Before you're even going to think about hiring. It's almost like any business. Like I had a donut, like I owned a donair business. I didn't work it, but I had like a really good, this girl that was an employee and she was just an incredible worker. And we did so well. And it's like the second you get to somebody that's doing the bare minimum, it's just like the place fails.
Yeah. Well, it's such a challenge a lot of times because of the balance. It's like hard to find someone that complimentary that's willing to put in the work. For me, it's always like I'm the workhorse. I don't mind being the workhorse. I love that part of it.
Yeah.
And then you need to have someone that's complimentary, that's able to be the balance, right? At the end of the day, you don't need an exact duplicate of yourself. You need someone that's the complementary version of yourself that adds the things that you don't contribute. And I feel like I've gone through enough relationships and partnerships. I love partnerships. I love partnerships, working with people, bleeding together, winning together, and losing together, And it's like, it makes losing not as bad and it makes winning even better. And the right partner can make it amazing and the wrong partner can just make it hell.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I almost like, I've had to make deals in my life where I almost felt like I made a poor decision. Well, like a poor deal on my half. Let's just say, for example, it's a 50-50 partnership, except for I'm doing all the work and the other person put up the money. And a lot of people criticize that, but I always, I'm the one that made the deal. And yeah, it sucked and it wasn't really fair. But guess what? At the end of our 5 years, that was the reason why I got way ahead. You know what I mean? Like, and having that and being able to recognize that. So like, I know a lot of people don't think it's fair. Well, if you don't have the money to start, sometimes you have to
sacrifice something.
Yeah, you have to sacrifice something. And like, I can remember, like I had a 5-year deal on a place and I hated it. Like I like after a few years and we were doing well. And, like I didn't bring this up, but on YouTube, I was probably the first person in the world that put the most aggressive leaf strip online. And, like before 3 Alight, and I just like, I would bring in a crew and I would strip my plants naked in the middle of the crop. And I remember
day 21, you're just,
I actually would do it on day 15.
Oh, wow.
For me, if I can, unless I needed the plants to fill out more.
Yeah.
So, and like, we would get like crazy aggressive, but the reason why I brought this up is I'm 50-50 partners, but I'm responsible for it. So I'm bringing people in to do it and paying, and it's coming out of my side.
Right.
And like deals like that I would be frustrated with, but at the same time, well, hey, I ended up like, I'm not complaining about on the money I made on owning the house at the end of the 5 years and everything, like, you know what I mean? And sometimes you just have to, you could say, make a deal with the devil if you have to, or make an unfair deal to get ahead.
And sometimes they're unfair in a certain perspective, and it's just life is all about perspective. Anyway.
Yeah, well, like exactly a perspective. It's not in the bigger picture unfair because like they put up like, how hard is it to save up 6 digits plus of money and also have the balls to invest it and do it without securing it?
Yeah,
and having that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to balls too.
Absolutely. Like I've had a pretty good track record for when it comes to like investing and stuff, or like getting people to come, or like if I come to someone for money. So it's like, I've never really had too much of a problem, but I can understand, like I've had a lot of other people that have said no, you know what I mean? Or that just because they're afraid of it or whatever. But if you have a pretty solid business plan and a track record, it's a lot easier.
Well, and it's not all money is good money.
Yeah.
And so it's about finding the right partner and the right person. It's like that. I've seen that happen before, myself and,
myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I wasn't happy with my partner or who I'm associated with.
I mean, I'm in the perfect situation now with my partner and we're the balance with each other.
Yeah.
And we contribute, both of us contribute a lot to the business and different things. And it's just, I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to come to work. And those are it's good when you wake up at 5 a.m, you're like, I'm going to the gym and then I get to go to work.
Yeah, exactly. And just enjoy everything you built and just everybody that you're working with. And I kind of feel the same way, even though I'm busier than I've ever been in my whole life by far, I enjoy it. And it's like, I enjoy that. Like I have late nights in China, 4 to 5 times a week, and I enjoy it though. I enjoy the hustle. And it's rewarding to see where we're at too. It's like in the last 2.5 years, so much has changed. Like even when I go back a year from now and it's like, it's it's such a rewarding feeling of like, I was in the craziest fight of my life, and just every single day I just wouldn't stop. And it's like, we're really reaping the rewards, and we're not slowing
Yeah.
down at all. Now we can we've brought things to the market, and we can innovate in other ways or do anything at this point. So
And that's what it takes, is just not getting up. And even when it's tough, putting the left foot in front of the right and the right
yeah.
foot in front of the left, and just keep on moving forward.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
we got killed in our very first year in juice, you could say. Because I didn't borrow from a bank or anything, you could
yeah,
say. So it's just like I did everything myself without having to bring anybody in. And then after about a year, one of my friends kind of jumped in and helped, just because he could see how well things were going. But
yeah, we haven't taken on any money. So it's
yeah,
just been us. And
exactly.
I think those are the best. But also, we've struggled. It's like,
Oh,
it's a
it's
struggle. People, everybody thinks like you're doing it, you're killing it. It's like, yes, but it's been a struggle. It hasn't been easy. The good things are never easy. At least in my experience, most of the good things are challenging, and I get reward and a lot of gratitude for everything that's gone on.
absolutely. Like, we caught a really big break about a little over a year ago with a client from Dubai, and we just did like what was a 166,000 light deal.
Wow.
Yeah, so and it was like
Holy shit.
designed a custom light from them, and it was just like a massive break for us that just allowed us to kind of get into another league. And
Was it for indoor cultivation?
yes, it's for growing lettuce.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
And like 3-tier, 2-tier,
more than that, like a
like,
insane tier. Like, I
yeah.
don't even remember how many, but like just the most ridiculous setup. And they originally had come to us with a design that was horrible, and we redesigned everything and just improved their
Wow.
uniformity. And we have them as a client too, for like, we're going to be doing another massive project with them. And that really just changed things for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and you never know, like when you start a business, you never know how long it's going to take. Usually if you do build outs, it takes twice as long and twice as much money, but like
oh,
just because you have an idea that's good doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be successful with it. So like there is risk involved, but once
oh,
once you start seeing the signs,
yeah.
and it's like you're onto stuff. And
Figuring out just how to do everything. Like, we had so
yeah,
many learning experiences, like even from with someone saying they're moving forward and not taking a deposit. Like, there was someone that I thought was as good as gold before that told me, and I made 500 lights
yeah,
for them, and then they backed out, and it wasn't a model that was popular selling. And like,
ugh,
it to be quite honest, it tied it up for almost 6 months for me. And like, it was just a learning mistake, and those type of things of, we had some crazy financial challenges with just everything we're doing. And then having so many lights, and then figuring out which ones perform the best, and then having stock. And yeah, it was extremely challenging, but it's, like I said, it's a rewarding feeling getting to here.
totally. The whole research and development aspect of it's pretty wild, especially with lighting. It's like, dude, well, because you don't want to just make another light. You have to make a light that's different, that's better, that has something that makes it stand out. Because there's a
Exactly.
gazillion lights, and then there's knockoff lights. Because it's like there's stuff coming out of China. They're knocking off stuff, and
Absolutely. There,
they're
it's
white
such a crazy
labeling.
market. And we wanted to do something different, and that's where we came in. And it's like, like I always say to people, it's like, name any company and compare it to one of our lights, and let's like break it down. In a lot of cases, you're getting double the value with us. So that means like, if the light costs double the cost to make, but it's retailing for the same price.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's where people, that like, when they start going down that rabbit hole, it leads them to us.
right.
Like, if they want to have the best value, they want to have the most efficient, they want to have the most diversity, they want it to run the coolest, they're coming to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really cool. So let's talk about your bug light.
Okay, so yeah, we have the very first registered pesticide light in the United States.
Yeah,
So, like about 2 years ago, my father-in-law came across an abandoned patent from like the early 2000s that gave us the right concept. And we kind of started going down this rabbit hole. And then, well, we started doing research on UVC, and it's not like UVC it's been used for years
yeah,
to like kill bugs in labs and all different types of stuff. It just hasn't been used the same way. So we came up with a concept, and there was one other company that was on the right track. They had the right idea.
yeah.
And the reason why you don't know who they are is I'm positive that they started faking the research.
Really?
Yeah. So like saying that the light runs for this long and it will wipe out and do all the stuff. And they started doing even studies showing pictures before and after. And like, you would think if it was truly true, they would have fucking blown up. And then we realized, like, for the amount of time that they were using it, like, I started doing, I bought their light. I even tested it. Absolutely doesn't work, what they were saying. So we started going down this rabbit hole, and it's like, it took us like a year of R&D of trying all different types of diodes, different wavelengths. And all of a sudden, on one of the tests that we did, it was just stupid. Well, we started, I don't know if you saw those posts, we'd be making posts and I'd be like, anyone got spider mites? Who's got, like, I want spider mites. I'd make posts saying I want spider mites or I want thrips.
Yeah.
And I started even working with someone that was even breeding them. And we were introducing, I had 4 different people that were participating with us. Heston was one of the people that, Florifarm that came on the show.
Totally. He's awesome.
And then I was doing it with another lab too that was participating. So we were introducing 5 to 7 spider mites, and we were beating them in 7 days. Then we started introducing. So like after the very first test, I thought, okay, well, we can beat spider mites. I thought we could, because you introduce 5 to 7 mites and we're beating them within a week. And then we started adding. Well, on the very first test, I added like over 200. And I've got this all the footage document. I'll be able to show you here because I'm about to start releasing this stuff.
Yeah.
We had it had hundreds of eggs. And after about 36 hours of them being established, we started treating them. We couldn't beat them, but we could reduce their spread by over 95%. And by like day 21, they still weren't even webbing. And so it was just like a game changer for spider mites. But at this point, we've evolved a lot since then. And like, we're about to start doing a whole bunch of testing, but I would still say it's like with what we were doing, it was a straight up 95% protection. Like, so basically if spider mites come in your room, you're going to be in a 95% better situation if you don't beat them in the first week. Like if it's a serious infestation. And then with thrips, the same thing. We were doing, like, I happened to have, the very first day I got them, I happened to get an unplanned infestation of thrips. So it was just like the best thing. And like I documented it, and, we're beating them by 97 to 98%. And I'm like thinking, hey, this is absolutely incredible. In the top 30 plus inches, like we cannot see a thrip, and any of the thrips or anything you see is like out where the light isn't treating. So I thought, this is incredible. Now let's try using it to stress out the plant to get higher THC and terpenes. So we started doing 2 15-minute treatments. 6 days later, there were no fucking thrips in the room, completely fucking gone. And there was a fellow from California, Matthew Gates. Do you know who he is? Sync Angel?
I know that name.
Yeah, he's like, I consider him like, he's just a really smart guy, really knows IPM really well. And we flew him out to see like, hey, to find a thrip? Because I'd been talking to him and he had seen what we were doing. And like, I just wanted him to see it and stuff. And, he didn't see the whole crop, but he could see the footage before. And then the thrips were alive, and he came down for the end, and they're not a living thrip. And then we've done multiple tests by now, and it's conclusive. Like, thrips are a problem of the past. We can beat them without pesticides or any type of predator bug.
So in the Lightworks, you do couple treatments a day?
It runs in the middle of darkness.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't have to run in the middle of darkness, but everything that I had done, like for their research, shows like bugs are attracted to light in the middle of darkness, and it's not enough to wake it up. So we even have like over a year of using it like longer times at nighttime, but you can definitely use it in the middle of the darkness is when we recommend it. If someone was nervous about it, they could do it right after the lights go out or right after.
Sure.
But yeah, so it also works to kill mildew and enhance THC and terpenes. Really? So it's like the ultimate, you know what I mean? It sounds too good to be true.
It sounds too good to be true. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So like a lot of people use UVA and they put UVA in their lights. Mm-hmm. We would never do it. Well, first of all, UVA, the diodes don't last nearly as long.
Right.
So when we have these souped out lights with all these 5-year life diodes, we would never put UVA in the same fixture that doesn't last nearly as long. Next to that, I've seen tons of side-by-sides over the last 5 years, UVA versus not. Mm-hmm. At most we ever saw was a little over a 1% increase in THC with sacrificing terpenes.
Yeah.
So like it was never really that big. I didn't think very much of it. And then UVB, on the other hand, has a much higher efficacy than UVA. So UVB is from 280 nanometer to 315 nanometer. Though any of those side-by-side tests that we saw, there was a huge gain of 2 to 3% in terpenes and 1 to 2%. 2 to 3% in THC and 1 to 2% in terpenes. So like you got UVA and then you've got UVB, which has, a way higher efficacy. And then you got UVC, 100 to 280. This stuff causes cancer. By the way, like this that was why it was such a big deal to get this registered in the States.
Right.
Because you had to go through all this different stuff with the EPA, and which is not an easy thing to do. But anyway, so UVC has a much higher efficacy. We also made an accidental discovery. When we had it on, we had a room where the timer failed, and the light was on for 12 hours, and it fucked up every part of the plant. Like, so the light was down by the stem. And this is when we discovered that, hey, it's affected every part of the fucking plant. We can emit UV systemically into the plant through the bottom of the plant to enhance THC and terpenes.
Nice.
And we couldn't, there's no literature on this. So we're going to be, like, it was an accidental discovery. I'm sure there's a lot of people are going to be messing around with this, but it's pretty incredible. So we don't even, like, with our lights and having we call it the tarantula predator, you don't need any UV supplement. You have the ultimate UV that's working underneath your canopy that also protects you from mildew. Wow. It's not going to, like, be a cure for mildew, because, like, you could technically kill mildew if you put it within, like, a certain distance.
Sure.
But if you have something that's causing mildew,
right, that's airborne, that's
if you got a problem, it's not going to be a cure. Like, I've seen a mildew happen. Two major reasons why it happens is, like, I see if someone doesn't have a room properly insulated and it gets cold and then hot and then it starts rotting in the wall, or it just simply getting too cold with the humidity too high at nighttime.
Right.
So, like, if you're doing that every single night, we can't cure that problem if your VPD is not correct. But it definitely does work. It just, overall, it's just such a competitive edge.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what kind of price are we looking at?
To do a 4x4 area, it's going to be $225 US.
Nice.
Yeah. So
super competitive. Yeah,
it's super reasonable. Like, we were working on a UVA bar. Well, it's, like, already done. Just working on the certification, but I was ready to abort it. Like, it's a fluorescent bar that will attach to any fixture. And we didn't use UVB diodes. Like, there's a lot of other companies that are, but the technology isn't really there yet. When I say that, like, in a fluorescent bar, it was 80% more efficient.
Yeah.
So you're getting 80% more light per watt because I'm using it in a fluorescent. So that's why we went in that direction. But with the UVC in our Predator, like, I'm pretty much going to abort it, because what's the point of having UVB and UVA when you've got UVC?
Right.
And what's also cool about it, you can get it anywhere in your canopy. Like, the lights, they float, but they spin 360 degrees, and you could move them up anywhere in your canopy if you wanted it up by your upper flower. And, like, I know it's kind of hard to visualize, but basically when you have clones, they go above pointing down at your clones.
Nice.
And it's also for, like, someone like you that has genetics.
Yeah.
It's a fucking game changer for your mother rooms. Like, because you can't have the more you have, the better, the more coverage you have. So, like, for me personally, if I had any type of genetics or any type of breeding, my mother rooms would be covered in them, just because it's the ultimate protection. Like, you can't, like, we haven't got to test it. Like, we're working with a major university, with the dean of a major university. I can't say yet, but once everything is published, they're assisting with the white papers, and we're going to have all the science behind it. And, like, I believe it's going to work on everything, to be quite honest, like russet mites, broad mites. I think it will work on everything. Like, it's so effective.
That's such a game changer too, because russet mites and broad mites, they're a pain in the ass. I mean, you can use microthiol disperse and sulfur for russet mites and broad mites to a degree, but it's not easy to get rid of. And then all of a sudden you're spraying sulfur on your plants. Now you can't use it for extract. Right?
Yeah.
You can't, it's smoking sulfur. You don't want to smoke sulfur.
Oh, it's so, sulfur is such a, it's such a, like, we see it with the potential to end pesticides on food crops.
Well, it's like the ultimate IPM, right? So, like really it's the most safe method of pest management on the planet. Yeah.
And like I said, we were doing well against spider mites, but that was a 10-minute treatment. I haven't tried 2 15-minute treatments yet on them. So, like, we might be able to beat spider mites the same way we might be able to beat thrips. But we already know it's so effective. We can't hold it back anymore. Like, it's ready. Like, we literally have it leaving for the USA at the end of this week.
Really cool.
Yeah. So anyways, I
have to get some of them for the facility.
Oh, definitely. Sure. Like I said, it's a game changer, especially for someone like you that's got genetics.
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, if you had one piece of advice for your younger self coming into the industry with all the experience that you have now, what would that be?
Well, I definitely wouldn't have acted as unprofessional as I did in some cases. Like, going back, like Like this is I'm crazy conservative the last 2 years that you've known me. Go back like a couple more years when
Yeah.
what you could consider me as a hothead or would speak out or I'd be canceled for sure.
Yeah.
Just like so I would say being conservative, like never well, I think the ability to know if something's not working out, you have to abort or reconfigure and move forward. And I'm being able to see that or pull the plug and start something new, I think is one of my biggest pieces of advice I can have.
Nice.
Yeah.
People are trying to get a hold of you, want to know more about your lights. Where can they go?
Either like Grandmaster level on Instagram, Grandmaster LEDs. Just type in Grandmaster LEDs on Google and our website. They'll be able to. We have a chat, contact form. We're super easy to get a hold of.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Look forward to doing it again, checking out your lights. So thank you very much.
Awesome.